Hi everyone. It's been a while since I made a video, so I decided to make one outside. I think it might rain soon, so probably won't be long. I actually just made a video and watched it and it was horrible, so I'm redoing it. It's been a while since I made a video. I'm not consistent with it anymore as you are have ever been. Since I know mostly only friends and family members watch this, I'm just gonna be a little more informal and not too hung up about it. But how are y'all doing? It's been a crazy one, huh? I wanted to talk about the polarization going on right now for everyone and just how that sort of relates to the fact that things are kind of even right now. I am perceiving in a spiritual sense of dark and light, and we're starting to have to integrate it, and more people are pushing towards quote unquote the light, which really just means an awakening and an enlightenment of who they really are beyond our social constructs, beyond the stories that they have told themselves, about who they are based on what other people told them about them or whatever, right? That whole ego construct is being challenged, right now, and dismantled, and it's hard. It's a lot, right? Last month was the worst of this year for me. Knock on wood, there's still more year of this year to go, but I lost somebody really close to me that I was really intimate with, and not in a sexual way. She was a very close friend of mine, like a sister. Like, I just know she was a soulmate, and it was really hard to release her from my life in 3D sense. I know she's with me. I feel her with me all the time, and I think others do too. We've shared stories, and I know she's still doing the work she has to do from a different dimension, from the other side, right? Doesn't make it easier, but it is what it is. She taught me a lot while she was here, and one of the biggest things that she taught me was that the purpose of life is just to be alive, is to be present and in the moment, and it's relationships. Gosh, who wanted to think that, right? You thought, oh, the purpose of life is for me to go do XYZ and be this, and that. Wrong. Be whatever the hell you want to be. Or be okay with that you're not some fantastical version of yourself that you think you ought to be, should be. There. I said it. Okay? Because what really, really does matter is who you are in the moment when you're around people. What are the memories you're making with people? What are the impressions you're putting onto the world around you? And to know, that's my little dog Sochi back there. She may pop in and out. And to know that you are of source, that you're divine. Yeah, even if you're broke and living on your mom's sofa and out of work with kids and overweight and whatever negative shit you dump on yourself. Yeah, even then, you still are. Even Donald Trump is. Can you believe it? Oh, whatever. Anyway, let's not bring that name up, right? So anyhow, I learned a lot from her. I spoke to so many people that said the most amazing things about what their experience was of her and how she helped them to gain courage or shift their perceptions of things, and really, what more could you want at the end of your life but to hear those things, that you did have an impact on people's lives. despite the fact that you weren't Mother Teresa, you know, helping people with leprosy in Africa or whatever. You know, right now, all of us have to integrate the good and bad in ourselves and in this world and come into a little more balance. And it's something that we all are having to do collectively, but like I said, for ourselves as well, right? So in psychology, there's a thing called the shadow side of you, of me, of everyone. And people tend to think that the shadow is all the negative things about yourself that you are in denial of. But it's also all the positive things about yourself that you're in denial of, right? It's the things in yourself that you see somebody else, you put them on a pedestal. Maybe somebody you're dating, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's so this, and that. I don't think I deserve that. Or am I good enough for him? He might be too good enough for me, or something. Whatever dumb stuff we say, or I don't think I'm good enough for that job, or whatever it is. It's probably you're putting something on a pedestal for all of its talents and gifts that you admire, because those are latent gifts and talents within you that you're about to embody once you get delusioned. Once you get delusioned by this thing that you've put up on a pedestal, that delusionment will help you to see that it's in you and you can embody those things. So that's kind of a cool little thing about psychology to check out. Also, right now, that's happening in a big way is African American people are asserting themselves right now as Americans and wanting to be integrated into the identity America has of itself. And you might stop and think and be like, well, they already are, you know, what does that mean, or blah blah blah. But if they already are, why are there so many telling you they aren't? Okay, so there's another form of integration going on for us here in the United States. If you look at the astrology right now, there's a T-square, and Mars is squaring Venus, Mars is squaring, I think, Saturn, and Venus is opposing Pluto, and whatever, a bunch of really intense stuff. Essentially, what it is that in order for you and I to go act as we will ourselves to act out in this world, which now has a lot of extra regulations, restrictions, oppressions, or whatever, we need to find that homeostasis, that's Venus, that balance in Cancer. What is Cancer? Cancer's home. So home can be your physical house where you live, but really what it is in here and here. That's home. Okay? When you're home, are you in balance? Or is it you're just so focused on, oh my God, I'm losing this job, and the mortgage, and the stress with the kids thing, and oh my gosh, this person I know is dying from whatever, and this my other family member's sick of COVID, or whatever insane stuff that you're going through, because nearly everybody I've spoken to is going through something, or maybe you're in the midst of divorce, or whatever it is. Home has to have some kind of balance, is seeking that, so that you will have right action when you're out in the world, right? Because if inside here and here it's turmoil, what are you going to be out in the world? How are you going to assert yourself? How are you going to show up? You're going to be reactive, right? Because there's all this restriction out in the world right now, and intense stuff limiting what you're able to do, so it could trigger you and you'll be reactive. Well, then you're not really doing anything, you're just reacting. But if you had some sort of equanimity in your home, you might be able, when something triggers you to get a little space and decide how you want to deal with it instead of just reacting, right? So how could you get to a place like that? Well, it's different for different people. Some people, excuse me, I have an eyelash mite. Some people play music, and that's their way to find that center and that balance in themselves. Some people meditate. Some people do yoga. Some people go out into nature. I do barefoot qigong right back here in my yard. You may hear my neighbor on the phone behind me. I'm sorry about that. With the barefoot qigong, I meditate, I pray, I'm grounding, and I'm doing body movement to move things through my body, in addition to working out and walks and things like that. When my friend had to go, they did a hospice at home for her, and for the week or so leading up to her crossing over, it was really intense. It was extremely challenging physically and emotionally and mentally for all of us who loved her so much. And every day before I went over to her house to help her family with, everything that needed to be done, I did my qigong, and every night I try to get to bed at a good time, and I did my best not to eat horribly, but, it wasn't like I was cooking and it was sort of like whatever was around you eat it because you're so busy or whatever. But it really barely paid off. Just that little qigong every morning before I went over there paid off, because there were situations that were so mentally and emotionally intense for me, somebody who's very sensitive, that had I not done that morning, I would have been reactive, or I would have been too distraught or upset to take the action that was needed in that moment and be present with that moment, so it really, really showed me how valuable a daily practice is. A daily practice. And when you have a daily meditative practice, which we know meditation can be different things. Meditation can be working on a puzzle. It can be many things. It could be sketching. It could be crocheting. It could be walking. It could be many things. But having that daily meditative practice is going to help you to give you that small little buffer space where you can exercise your free will and decide how you're going to deal with whatever you're facing in the moment, in the present, and be present. Actually be with that situation in the moment and not thinking about how is this going to affect the future or the past or whatever, and playing out scenarios, but just be there dealing with it in the here and now and doing it wisely. Because guess what? You have enough buffer space between your emotions and your actions due to your daily practice of balancing and becoming still in yourself, right? So, and something to think about, I've probably discussed it before, but as far as the astrology goes, it's the astrology is more accurate than ever, is how it feels, and it's not getting any easier. Right now is actually a little bit of a lull. It's going to pick back up again for the rest of the year, culminating on December 21st with the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. And when that happens, okay, friends, don't be surprised if something in your life hits the fan, like in real life. It could be an internal experience, but I have a feeling it's going to be something in the outer world. It may be something that happens to all of us, like all of a sudden there's a pandemic and we get locked down. It could be something like that. It could be some economy shocker or something right after the election. I mean, the elections are in November, so December 21st is not very accurate. I mean, we can speculate on what it could be. It doesn't matter. You get ready now. You get ready now, because what could be coming the rest of this year could be stuff that rocks you to your foundation. It could be losing job, losing home, losing car, losing children, losing friends, losing family members. Or it could be something that rocks your world in a really good way. Getting a huge opportunity you never expected. Are you in a place to act wisely on this opportunity? Are you in a place where you are seeing yourself correctly enough to feel like you deserve the opportunity and jump on it, whether or not you think you have the skills for it or not, right? You have to have some kind of courage there, even in positive shockers that rock you to your core, right? I mean, think about it. In my life, finding somebody I love that treats me well, or getting the office job that I have now, that's a really good job. I had to deal with imposter thing, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I deserve this. I don't think I have what it takes to handle this and for this to be in my life. I had to totally shift my perspective about myself. And that's really what humility is. It's not about putting yourself down and lessen. It's about accurately seeing yourself and loving yourself and knowing that part of you there's a God spark in you. No, maybe you're not God or whatever, but there's a God spark in you. Honor that, respect that. That's serious stuff. And the darker parts of you are just parts that are ignorant to that knowledge. The dark part in this world, the dark people of this world, they're in darkness because they haven't been able to accept the light in themselves, the God spark in themselves, you know? And when I say darkness, I don't mean like an evil. I mean like just literally an unawareness. They're unaware, you know? But know this, all things come from dark matter, right? The beautiful tree behind me started in the darkness of the earth where things are decaying to give life, you know? There was a fire ceremony I did for the full moon on the 1st. It was Pisces full moon, which is Pisces full moon and Virgo full moons, in my mind, are some of the holiest times of year. They're purging and cleansing and preparing for initiation times in my mind. And on this one, maybe let yourself wash away who you think you are, good and bad. Make room for some new stories. Burn it off, you know. Write down some stories you tell about yourself about, you know, you're such a great cook and you talk too much and annoy people and you hate your job. And whatever these stories are, maybe write them down and burn them. Make room for new stuff. If you look into the life cycle of the sequoias, I went to go see the sequoias last year. They're 3,000-year-old giant trees, some of the biggest trees on earth. They require fire. They require a burning away of old brush so that their seeds can land in the ground, germinate, and produce another tree. So part of their life cycle, is destruction. And look at the phoenix, the story of the phoenix, right? It burns to ashes and rises anew. So you can see it in some ways that us as a whole world, as a human race, are stepping into a place of fire, a place of chaos, a place of breaking down, a fall time, going into winter. Winter is coming. So with winter coming, you must tend to the inner fire, to the hearth, to the home. And here, yes, all of it. So think about that. I think it's probably the same advice I give literally every video about courage, about centering, about a daily practice, about readying yourself for what's to come. It's probably the most important message there is right now. But hopefully I'll come on and talk more. It might be the same thing every time I come down. But that's okay, right? It's a good reminder. Anyway, I love you guys. Oh, before I go, let me pull a card. So my friend Kim, last Christmas, my friend Kim, she's the one that passed. Bless her heart. I thank her every day for being in my life and for coming through on our soul contract. She gave me this beautiful deck called Angels and Ancestors. I personally am not big on cards. I've never been much of a card person, but I'm going to go ahead and pull a card for all of us for this talk, for a message for the rest of this year for all of us on what's a good message, what's something that would help us get through the rest of this year and furthermore the rest of this decade. And not just get through it, but how do we find a way to flourish? How do we find a way, a new way? It's really what all this is about. A new way of perceiving, a new way of looking at yourself, a new way of looking at the world, a new way of valuing things. Here we are, looking for the new way. All right, so let's see what we get. Medicine Mother says, honor your inner knowing. I like it. But you're not going to hear your inner knowing if your brain's rambling on and your chest is stricken with panic and stress is overwhelming you. You know, schedule your stress every day from 6 to 7 o'clock. I'm going to go sit in the closet and be super stressed about finances and everything in life. But don't let it consume you. And tend to the hearth, tend to the home fire. That's the inner knowing. You know, that's how you hear the clear messages of your inner knowing, your guidance. Your guidance is way beyond your brain. Trust me. Listen to that more than your brain. But do use your brain, please. Anyway, I love you guys, and talk to you next time.